Welcome to our Community Pulse Update, episode number 2. Every single quarter, we will be providing you updates, additional value, sales script, sales tactics, and we're doing it live from our public-facing page on Facebook, AIME Group. Plus, we're also doing it inside of our newly marked Facebook group, Brokers Are Best. This is something for our consumers to see. We want you to know what's going on, our real estate partners, and all other loan officers alike. This is a huge opportunity for us to continue to learn and grow and talk all the updates that are happening in the mortgage broker world. Before I get started, though, the man, the myth, the legend behind the cameras that makes so much of this possible, Tommy Golightly, happy birthday, my friend. Thank you for all that you do to continue to put all of these together. You're an incredible human being. I'm so grateful to continue to get to know you. For those that don't know Tommy, please reach out, wish him a happy birthday. He's a great human being. Without further ado, today we got some incredible special guests. We have founding director Mark Summers talking about all things membership and the things that we've been putting together now over, can you believe it, coming up on 9 months completed since this new journey has began. We have Corrina Carter, the wonderful Corrina Carter, who has poured so much into this organization. Thank you so much for your support. She's going to talk a little bit about Hall of AIME, but more importantly, she's going to talk to you about scale and processing. Processing will be one of the most important pieces for mortgage brokers to continue to capture market share. One of the few times we've lost market share in this industry was during the refinance boom. Retail has been ready. How ready are we? She will share so many tips and tricks along the way. We have the incredible Jason Frazier talking everything marketing. Not understanding your branding is costing you money. The broker CMO, the guy who makes it happen, you see him everywhere, is here to pour into you with PowerPoint slides and action items that you can take advantage of today. And last, but certainly not least, somebody that has been mentoring me, been helping me. He's done so much for the broker community. Eddy Perez, talking everything market, talking about his past experiences, everything that he's seen, all the data about refinances, what to do moving forward, mistakes that he knows are going to be made because of the data. But if you're willing to listen, he'll teach you and show you ways to ensure you don't make the same mistakes that have been made in the past. Now, drop your questions inside of the group chat. We'll answer them towards the end of the call. Mark Summers and I, as we continue to wrap this up. But without further ado, I'd like to bring up here Mr. Mark Summers, sir. Appreciate you being here.
What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing? John, thanks for all that you do. I mean, everyone, I think it's kind of coming out now about how much of just a crazy and a good way person John is. I don't, what are you averaging, about 3 hours of sleep a night?
About a little over 4. Realistically, yeah, a little over 4.
We bumped that up. That's good. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk some membership stuff here. I know we got a jam-packed crew here that's going to give you guys a lot of insight of what's going on here and how you can better yourselves. But I'm going to talk all membership right now. So when we start talking about membership, one of the biggest things we got here is the portal's not working. We know, okay, everyone, we know the portal's not working. Really, it's under construction. We're doing some things behind the scenes and some revamps that I'm telling you, it's going to be great, okay? Most of the information that you can get anyways is on aimegroup.com, so you can always go there to, if you need a contact or anything. But if you're looking for something that the portal would have offered, you really want to email, well, let's just be honest here. You can email anyone on our team, our wonderful team, and we'll help you. But really the best way to do it so you get more visibility is if you email info@aimegroup.com. Any issue that you have that the portal would have taken care of, we can definitely help you there. So info@aimegroup.com is where you're going to want to go if you have any questions, and then we'll take care of you. Next, so one of the things that the portal did was escalations, right? And it's one of our biggest value props that we have. Hopefully myself, John, and our team have helped you guys in an escalation. I know with business picking up, escalations have picked up quite a bit. You know what I mean? And really, I've been working on a ton of escalations lately, which is not a bad thing, you know, and our lenders, our lending partners have been absolutely great about it. But if you look in the chat, you know, we're going to put it in here. If you can email, once again, info@aimegroup.com, the following information, which is basically the lender, account executive, you know, when you submitted it, you know, if it's a UWM loan, the CR number, the issue on the file, we'll take care of it. It's just going to be a little bit more hands-on, but definitely we will take care of it. So that escalation piece, which is huge, just email info@aimegroup.com. We'll take care of you. We still got your back. It's a little bit of a different way to do it. Okay, so here's some important association news that we've been working on. One of the biggest things, and I sound like a broken record talking about this, when John came on board, you know, we both talked about how we want membership. We want to give you guys so much value that, you know, it's like, yes, I have my AIME membership. It's definitely helping. So we changed up pricing a little bit. And one thing, if you don't know that we do monthly pricing now. Okay. So it's not just that auto renew. If you want to do the monthly pricing, it's going to continue. So just some updates here, which we'll also put out there. If you're premium, it's $19.99 a month. Elite is $69.99 a month, and VIP is $199.99 per month. Okay, so we can definitely set you up on a payment plan. We have a team that can set you up. We do it all through Stripe. Everything looks great. But now at the same time, it was funny talking to a lot of people at Fuse. You know, a lot of people were coming up to the booth, you know, and I was mentioning payment plans, and some people really gravitated towards it because sometimes it's like we probably spend more on streaming services at our home than we do on our own AIME membership. But some of you guys were like, nope, I just want to pay it. I just want to get out of the way. I know I'm going to use it. The value's there. So what we're doing for you guys on that one is basically we're giving you a discount if you pay up front. Okay. So, and that's for elites and VIPs only. So if you want to pay and be on auto renew, it's $699 per year for elite, and it's $19.99 a year, $1,999 per year for VIP. So get your membership. It helps us. I think everyone sees here, obviously, if you're at Fuse, and I know we're going to talk about Fuse a little bit, but if you're at Fuse, you saw the energy and the value that we gave, and we can't continue to do those things unless we have support from our members. You know, it's a trade association. We're a nonprofit. We survive on giving you guys these benefits through membership and sponsorship. So, okay. With that being said, obviously the pricing, we've made some changes with escalations. Once again, one of our biggest value props there. So with our escalations now, if you're a premium member, now before, if you're a premium, you did not get escalations. Premium members, you're going to get 2 escalations. Okay. Yes, we're doing it. We're putting our money where our mouth is, that we can help you guys. We can help all the brokers across the nation here. So if you're a premium, you get 2 escalations per year. Elites, you now get 6. So some of you elites, I know, because I see a lot of your escalations come through, we're going to get you 6. And VIPs, listen, our VIPers, we absolutely love them. You know, everyone supports us, but our VIPers, man, they're all bought in. You get unlimited escalations. Now, at the same time, hopefully you don't run into this, because once again, we have great lending partners. But if you run into it where you use up all of your escalations, we will allow you to purchase a one-time basis per escalation at $199.99 per additional escalation. Hopefully we don't have to get to that point. Listen, at the end of the day, we're here to help you, but these things do take time, a lot of follow-up, a lot of calls, a lot of emails back and forth. The one advice I can try to give people on escalations is, I understand things pop up last second. Try to get ahead of it as fast as you can, because a lot of our escalations that come through, let's just be honest here, it's, I have an issue, it's supposed to close in an hour. We can't do that. I mean, we'll do everything we can, but it's going to be extremely tough to do that. So just try to get ahead of it as much as you can. Try to keep us in the loop. As always, we're here to help. Our great membership team from top to bottom, they're always here to help. All right, last thing, and then I'm going to throw it back over to John, is elites and VIPs. I've said this a few times, and you know, in some of the events I speak at, I just don't think it's hitting as hard as it needs to, and hopefully this community pulse should. If you're an elite or VIP, your federal continuing education is, you can get it through MLO Force, and it's free. It's free. Am I saying that right, John? It's free.
That is.
Most of the times people gravitate towards free. Okay. So, because me and free get along very well. So just a huge shout out on that one. Advantage Credit made this donation. You know, they're great sponsors of ours. So please, if you ever need credit issues as well, Advantage Credit is a great partner of ours, but they were the ones who sponsor this. So once again, if you're an elite or VIP, your CE, your 7-hour federal is covered by Advantage Credit, and it's through MLO Force. No one else. MLO Force. Okay, so take advantage of that. I'm sure we'll put the link over here on the side of the chat. But also for premium starters, we have a 15% off coupon available for federal and state courses as well. We're really pushing this. MLO Force is another great partner of ours, and that's what we try to do. We try to create a community with great partners, and that's what we're going to do. So, John, hopefully I didn't go over on time. I know we got a lot of information here. I'm throwing it back to you, and I'll catch you at the end.
Thank you, brother. No, sir, that was perfect. I appreciate you. And listen, y'all, I still write loans, still originating. So I understand it. I know the pain. I know how it feels like. But right now, it's all about staying focused and making sure we're doing things right up front. I started laughing a bit because Mark's right. We'll get some of these escalations, and it's like, hey, the loan's supposed to close in an hour. We're good. We're not that good. But the truth of the matter is, and you guys know this deep down, and I do too, right? There's always something, for the most part, I'd say 99% of the time, there's always something we could have done slightly early on to make sure that it's actually beneficial. And for the one-time fee, for those that want to buy an additional escalation, please understand that's only charged pending we actually get the escalation completed for you. If we couldn't find a solution, we couldn't honor it, please understand that won't be a charge for you for the additional escalation. So please, please, please stay on the lookout. Make sure you understand. And the portal, Mark's not kidding. The changes we're making to the portal are going to blow your mind. It's all about coaching. We are really turning into an awesome opportunity for you, loan officers alike, to get additional coaching platforms. You will see it, scripts, downloadable information, tactful items that you can leverage, email scripting, how to stay in front of your past clients, all going to be given to you. You'll have a different experience based off your level of membership, but it's going to be a big win for us. We've spent a lot of time putting this together. Without further ado, somebody who I've started to grow an incredible relationship with. She's an absolutely just hilarious human being, but don't get it twisted. As funny as she might be, she's one of the most focused human beings that I've ever met. Her story and her journey are something special. And the one thing about her, she's never used it as an excuse to play the victim mindset. I cannot wait to introduce to y'all. I know you all know her. Many of you love her. Miss Corrina Carter. Please come on up.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I just have to say, I don't know if I can live up to that. My God. But I'm going to tell you this real quick. A lot of people don't know I can be funny. So you can't tell everybody my hidden secret. Right? But I will share with you. Good God, I got to step up my eyebrow game. Look at your eyebrows. They're on fire today. They look great.
You know what? I'll tell you this much. It's I lost most of my eyebrows, so you know what? It's threading, microneedling, whatever it is. So I can't even lie to you over here.
It's phenomenal. Okay, so what are we here to talk about today? AIME Fuse. So much FOMO, right? The FOMO was unreal talking to people when we came home. It was incredible. Everybody in the room. Let me tell you this. I'm going to share with everybody on this call right now. I have only been to 2 conferences in the past 5 years that on the third day, the last hour, 82% of people were still in the room. Right? So we went to one in July and then just this AIME. In 5 years, this is the only second conference, and you guys watch me. I go to hundreds, right? This is the only second conference in 5 years where there was more than 82% of the people in the room the last hour of Fuse. So kudos to you guys. Phenomenal work on AIME. So I just have to thank you from the community, from our team, and Hall of AIME was phenomenal, right? I believe everybody on the boards, I believe everybody that was voted in, I believe everybody that was voted for deserved to be there. Everybody is stepping up their game and showing how they can support the community and what they can do to lift each other up. So that's what we're here to do today, right?
Yes, thank you so much. And congratulations to your company as well. Rightfully earned is definitely the feeling that we got, and the love you guys showed, and the pictures, watching all your team walk up for that picture. You know, at first I was like, oh, it's a couple people. Then all of a sudden it didn't stop. It's like a clown car. You know, I'm like, oh my God, where are they coming from? And you guys took that incredible picture. So thank you for doing that. And so I don't forget to, Barrett Financial, we're out here in Arizona. He's actually allowing us to use this office, gave me some gear to wear. So shout out to Barrett. Thank you guys so much for the space and giving us this chance.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Everybody was on fire. So really great. So we're here to talk a little bit about 2 things, right?
Yes.
Hall of Fame was phenomenal. Fuse was on fire. If you weren't in the room, which 85% of people were in the room last hour, you needed to be there. So next one, I don't know where it's going to be, but get your tickets soon because it's going to be on fire. I already seen Jonathan's wheel spinning of what he's going to bring to the table. So I'm excited about that. 2 things I'd like to align with, if I can share today, Jonathan. One thing that you've been talking a lot about, and then me and Eddy talked a lot about at Housing Wire. I always say all this year, if you're being seen, you're being heard, you're going to be picked. So get in the rooms. But second is you're talking about refis, how we're going to lose market share. That is a true thing, right? It is a very true thing. And you can lose market share because you're not paying attention, or you can lose market share because you don't have processes, right? Mm-hmm. And processes can be as simple, Jonathan, as simple as, and do I really need to sit here for the next 15 and 20 minutes to disclose a loan, or do I need to pay someone and go get 2 refis, right? Do we think that granular sometimes? Processes can be an old lady like me learning how to update the pipelines with AI and sending out the same update 2 or 3 times a day to my loan officers to make them happy so they understand where they are in the processes and how vested we are as leadership. And I think that's something that we have so many resources right now that we're not dialing into them. So me and Eddy at Housing Wire talked a lot about pulling the security blanket out from retail. So if we want other loan officers to come over to our community, how can we show them great introduction about what we're doing with AIME, the escalations, the support, the team, but also getting with yourself and understanding what your support level is going to be and how you're going to show people outside of community that we're not going to pull the security blanket out from underneath of them, that we're still going to give them the support, right? That we can still dial in, we can still disclose a loan, we can still submit a loan, we can still process a loan, and we can still be a closer. So we have a 4-part process, and in that 4-part process, we're getting granular for 2025. We got some good crazy shit coming, Jonathan. So I'll just share with you. I'm not going to tell all of it, but we're getting a little bit more granular in the process and how we can support the LOs. But that in turn is showing we've got, several retail LOs that were previous retail on our team who are kicking some serious dupa right now because they realize we're not pulling that security blanket out. We got the same shit. We can disclose a loan. We can submit a loan. We can close a loan. And those are things that we really need to talk about within our community. How are you disclosing? Can you pay someone to disclose a loan versus not do it? Can you do this? So there's a lot of contract processors out there. There's a lot of contract work going out there. Compliance-wise, don't spend the time doing that audit. Get someone to help you. How can we help you within the community? What can we do to share policies, procedures, things like that? I don't know how many people I have helped with audits and different things in my time. So we want to be a resource for you. So part of all that is how we dial into the processes. And I'll share, I don't have to wind up my fax machine anymore, and I don't have to stroke and sit there and think how I'm going to type. I can speak it to a machine and it's going to tell me exactly what I should be saying properly, right? And send it out to a bar. Vice versa, our processes can do the same thing, right? How can we dial in our processes to speak it into what the loan officer wants to receive? And I think that's what we're going to see more of. And that's what we need to see more of for people coming into our community.
I love what you just shared. And look, the thing I loved about what you said too is it doesn't matter the size of your company, right? If you're on the local side, the regional, the national, she just said it, third parties out there too. And we have so many great third-party processing companies that have been added to the mix for us. That's a cost that's incubated into the loan itself. The consumer pays, and you still get to build an incredible process for you and your team, for you and your company. Even if you're a one-man or woman shop, it doesn't matter. You should be focused on front-end business. And the other stuff that she's talking about, compliance. We're partnered with Brokered VA, ran by Joel Henry. They have an incredible system to get a virtual assistant at a fraction of the cost to do some of this stuff. So we got to get rid of that mindset of, oh, I don't have the margin. I don't have the money to do that. Yes, you do. You have it now. And if you don't know where to look, we have the information for you. Reach out. Get ready to focus on front-end business. And Corrina, you talked about AI. And I don't want you to give all the secrets, so we're not going to do that. But understanding that there's easy ways to implement AI into the processing side of things, what made you start to look at that? And I know don't give away too much, but what did you look for specifically leveraging and understanding AI?
So there's two things for me, Jonathan, my age and my glasses. They're for real, right? Both of them are for real. So in that factor, if I was going to go from 30 people to 150 people in 24 months, I had to really think how I was going to remember stuff. And so I started simple. I started with every meeting, and I know you guys always kick it out. And I said, it doesn't need to be in there, but it's scheduled. My orders in every meeting, right? So I can transcribe the notes and go back and remember a Jennifer, remember a Tom from 6 months ago and what we did. And then from there, I just dived in just a little deeper, and I am nowhere near like the fanatic that some are. Like Deshaun, oh my God, that dude, like he can write a whole book in like 10 seconds, but I can't do that yet. However, within the processes, if I'm doing it as leadership and I'm old and I wear glasses for a reason, then my processes and processors can do so too. And that's what really we're scaling in a different level. We're hiring, by the way, we've got lots of opportunities, but I'll just throw that out there. But yes, we're scaling at a different level because we are starting to level up and use some of them. So if I can do it, they can do it. So, and I think from there, it's just really diving into those little unreasonable hospitalities that we talk about all the time, right?
So let me ask you this too. So the important piece of it, obviously, it sounds like just learning, understanding, at least giving it a shot. But let's talk about the refi side of thing. Not gaining that market share, having the process set up to where you can go through these refinances for our consumers in a timely manner, very quickly, right? 10 days or less, even faster than that in certain instances. What do you believe that'll allow us to do to gain the 50% market share that we want to gain as mortgage brokers? And how important is that to that goal that we're trying to get to?
Well, it's important because at some point in time, we always hear, right? We lose the market share for refis to retail and banks, but they get backlogged quick. So can we go back in and snag those same people? So I think collaboration and communication. So are we communicating and still following up? So are you putting together the correct follow-up system for that process too? Because you can't be one and done. In the refi world, you can't be one and done. That person is going to refi, even though they say they may not at that moment. And that's your Wednesday morning call, dude. It is on fire. Y'all need to be there. Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. It's on fire. You don't know how to talk to people? Jonathan will teach you at Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. But so I think for that is nobody is one and done. They're going to refi. They're going to do business with somebody. You have to follow up. So in following up, it takes time. Then relieve yourself of the processes. Find the people who will help you with the processes.
Corrina, thank you very much for jumping on. Do you have any final words for our viewers over here today?
Yeah, get in the room. Get in the room on Wednesdays. Get in the room in the conferences, and already scheduled to get in the room a few next year, because this is going to be 2025 and 2026. 2020 next year, 2025 will be 20 years in for CMS Mortgage, and it is going to be our best year ever. It can be your best year ever too.
I friggin' love that so much. You are such a ball of energy, such a positive human being. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your support. I look forward to spending more time and helping and growing alongside you as well. So thank you for everything, Corrina.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, y'all. You see the energy, you see the excitement. For Fuse, the biggest focus for us was the breakout rooms. And these breakout rooms were all about sales, tangible action items. I did a call yesterday, Wednesday morning. I handled the East Coast calls at 6 a.m. Shout out to Julie Arborough, who handles the West Coast call at 6 a.m. Pacific. But yesterday, I'm here in Arizona. I got on that call at 3 in the morning, okay? Because the commitment to the community is 52 straight weeks of these calls. We talked about introductions yesterday. And at first, people looked at me funny, like, why are you talking about introductions? Whenever you do an introduction for any client you talk to, whether it's a real estate agent referral from a builder, whether it's a refinance, your introduction matters. And I asked people one simple question: what's the end goal of an introduction? And everybody kept throwing out different things, right? To be, I wanted to feel good. I want to build rapport. Yes, but what's your goal of an introduction? It's to make sure they don't forget your name. How many times have you called a consumer back and they forgot your name? Who is this again? Oh, you did my last loan? Oh, okay, yeah, I remember now, that's right. How memorable are you making the experience? Now, you see, for me, I was a bartender before I got into the mortgage space. Now, all of us here, maybe not all of us, but you ever walk in to get service, right? Waiter, waitress comes up to your table and they greet you with this just excitement. They're so ready to take care of you. They're so ready to get your order right. They're around the clock. They have your waters refilled. They step in at the right time to check in on you. Matter of fact, I started building regulars because of that. Imagine that, building regulars, even in the bar industry, because of how powerful your introduction is, how memorable it is. Do you just go through the motions for your introduction, or do you call with a purpose? So many people just go through the motions because our day impacts us. You can't allow your day, no matter what happens. Yes, I too have loans that go sideways. And when that happens, the next person I talk to, they don't care about the loan going sideways. So I have no time to think about that. I got to put that in the back of my head and focus on the client. Think about going to a 5-star hotel, that white glove service, that red carpet experience. Are you providing that every time for your client? How memorable are you making it? Just an easy example for you. Hey, Mr. Mrs. Client, yeah, my name's Jonathan. I'm so excited. I know you're looking to buy your home, so fill me in. Or, hey, Mr. Mrs. Client, my name's Jonathan Haddad. I've been in this industry now for a little over a decade. Rest assured that I'm going to ask you a lot of questions on this call. It's because I look at this as a career, not a job. And even though it might be a little uncomfortable for you, it's going to allow me to put you and your family in the best spot possible. Because for me, this is not just going to be a one-time transaction. You and I will be working together for many years to come. And I want to take care of you now on this purchase and get you and your family to your dream home. So that way down the road, you always know you have me in your back pocket when it comes time to potentially refinancing. I'm in the business of allowing you to not have to work for your home. Let's get your home to work for you and get you on the right path to financial freedom. Now, do me a favor. Do you have your cell phone in front of you? Oh, I figured we're talking on it. Ha, 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 ha. I just sent you my contact card. Here's my contact information. Please save me in your phone. How purposeful is your introduction? Do you try to get the phone number saved in the client's phone each and every time? Do you try to make yourself memorable each and every time? Or are you just going through the motions? All of this matters. It's very important that you spend time focusing on the little things, even calling past clients when it comes to refinances. Make it a memorable introduction, because the truth of the matter is this, whether you like it or not, I talked about it at Fuse. We as mortgage brokers, to get to 50% market share, need to do a better job staying in front of our clients when it comes to the refinance market. Think about it like this. Mortgage brokers own the purchase market share, yet we lose in the refinance market share every single year. Why is that? Why is that? What is our process like? Are we doing the same things? Don't forget, I came from retail. I spent 6 years in retail at a very high level. One of the things was just the structure. It was the same every single time. And now we need to be doing that. So how strong and memorable is your introduction? Or if the client hangs up the phone, are you not memorable and they're forgetting about you right away? Give yourself the opportunity up front. Practice and role play. That's what we're doing on the Wednesday morning sales calls. We role play every week. We go through conversations like this. Why are we starting with introduction? Well, that's the first thing you start with on a conversation with the client. If that client is shopping, who are they going to remember more? You or the other person they're talking to? And I hope you take that seriously, because if they get on the phone with somebody that's been doing this X amount of time and has that ball of energy, and you don't have that same energy level or that same excitement or that same process, it's going to be a tough time for them to remember you versus the other person. In retail, I was selling higher rates, and a lot of them too. So it's not always rate driven as much as everybody thinks that might be the case. A lot has to do with your ability to build the relationships with your consumers, and it truly does start with hello. So without further ado, you'll get the scripting for this. Our team built this together. Thank you, Jennifer Leonard, the team behind the scenes, Kurt, everybody there. Thank you guys so much. We'll get the scripting out to you guys as well. But without further ado, this guy is one of the most candid, transparent human beings that I've ever met. And that's such a beautiful thing to have somebody like that in your corner, because it allows you to know where you need your focus to be. It allows you to know where you always stand with that individual. He's given so much back to the broker community. He's done so much for us here at AIME over the years, and he continues to support and do a lot for us and he's not going to stop anytime soon. So without further ado, I'd like to bring Eddy Perez, CEO of EPM, up here. Eddy, thank you, sir, so much for being here. I saw you change the shirt because I'm weird like that. The chief wrestler of egos. Tommy, that should have been my title, man. That's what I've been dealing with over here. You took that. No, that's a beautiful title, my friend. That's a beautiful title. How you doing today?
Been saying it for about 7 years. So it's been on my LinkedIn 7 years.
That's a great thing, man. How are you doing, man?
I'm well. And yourself?
Thank God, Eddy. It's fun out here in Arizona. It's definitely a little bit of a change from Michigan. It's been a little gloomy over there.
It's a little warm where you're at. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Not bad. Eddy, so for you, a lot of changes. I mean, EPM is one of the top partners that we have. And you guys have been doing a lot for the space, just really getting us off the ground. You went all in on wholesale not that long ago. But for you, the future of the mortgage brokers, can you talk a little bit about the data of the past and why mortgage brokers lose market share and potential refinance booms?
Well, there's certain rules to the game people have to understand that I'm not sure that they have either accepted it, or I think there is a language challenge in our industry, just from an understanding from what I talk about the originator network. When they lose market share to retail, it's a certain segment of retail. And I think they have to understand what that is. You came from that form of retail, even though I don't call it retail. I originally came from that form, and that's consumer direct. And to put this into terms, they are trained killers. Just period, end of story. They know how to pound the phones. They're not scared of 50, 100 phone calls in a day. To them, it's not even a no. They don't take it personal. They just say next. It's not no, it's next. And they know exactly how to sell value. Because I heard you when you were talking about that, and even what Corrina said. And what they have is a very black and white process. A to Z. They don't say, oh, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do that way. Every loan has A to Z, like, hey, first I have to send the email. Or, nowadays, like, we had to take 1003s, like, before you could send a link to do that. Like, we had to actually take 1003s. But that's not a bad thing, because I'd actually tell people maybe you should start doing that. Because do you know how much rapport you get to build through that whole 1003? You get to find out their kids. There's so much information, and don't tell me you don't have time, because there's plenty of time. Everybody has the same 24 hours. So these same trained killers who you complain about, who you blame, because let's be candid and call it retail, they are Navy SEALs, Green Berets. They are the special forces. And that is their job. They only flourish during this time. So you have to understand, how do I get ahead of them? Well, the great news is they only show up when it's around this time. Now, they're constantly getting letters out there and advertising, things like that. But what happens is new purchases come in during this market. And originators, I hate to tell you, and I can say it, haven't always been one. You have a number in your head of how much money you want to make, or even a little bit more, and you stop. Well, my answer is, why don't you think of that number in the down season, not in the hot season? Because it's going to have to take maximum effort through the hot season to still weather that storm in the cold season, like we've seen now for the last 2.5, almost 3 years. So I think first and foremost, before we get into what has led to it, is they have to understand the rules to the game. Consumer direct is not going away, guys. I do believe your traditional retail model will slowly start, more and more of those originators, want flexibility. But let's also pay respect to why retail exists. It exists because a lot of originators in retail are very open about, hey, I don't know the process. So like Corrina being on earlier, like, you have no idea how valuable that is. I don't know the process. I don't want to deal with it. Oh my God, that's too much noise. So what they do is they just focus on selling and building relationships. So they're always at the game, and they're willing to take less comp to do that. The good thing about this opportunity is it's not necessarily what you guys have to do to compete. You may have to go out and hire if you don't have a processing, there's a lot of great processing companies out there that, by the way, will basically be your de facto retail process system. They'll do it all for you. They'll even do it with all the different investors. I've seen a lot of them. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not familiar with this system. Oh, no, don't worry. If you find the right one, they are, and the great thing is because of Dodd-Frank in the law, and it's 1099, that's something that can be put on the LE and the CD that does not have to affect your compensation unless you choose competition and all that, as we see, are going to be more fierce. So you have to, like I say, it's the rules of the game that always betray people and let them down. So, and we go back to it when I said all these consumer direct, they're trained killers. I say that over and over because they're good. I know how to sell value. That's why when you said earlier, it's not about rate, it's not about, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, as long as there's value there, especially right now, this is the first time in about 16, 17 years that you can really start doing cash outs again. See, that's the real place where an originator can sell value. And the key to that is you did their home purchase. They already have been intimate with you. You have to get that. So, but the key is you can't just show up when it's refi time because you don't know when it's refi time. But if you did 100 loans, 200 loans, you mean to tell me, we talked about AI and CRMs, but you mean to tell me that you can't make 5 to 7 phone calls a day to stay in touch with your whole year? You can't put in commitments. I know you're laughing. I'm not really trying to be sarcastic. It's just I see where it always goes down, and then I always tell people the greatest challenge is arrogance. People are like, what do you mean I'm not arrogant? Well, if there's these things that have happened and people are telling you the way to avoid them, but then you argue with them, then you may not know it. But yeah, you are arrogant. You're arrogant thinking that it can be done differently or better. And I'm not saying it can't be refined. Don't get me wrong. However, you're going up against people that are on the phone all the time. And mind you, a lot of the true retail, not consumer direct, they're also very similar to you in the sense of they're in the local community, they're entrenched, they're people in that area. So they're going to do a lot of the see you around. They're going to see them around just like they see you around. But a phone call, and not just on a birthday. I mean, one thing that I used to do that I think is very powerful is, between 4th of July and Thanksgiving, they're my 2 favorite holidays. So those were the 2 holidays that I picked to call and wish people a happy 4th of July, a happy Thanksgiving. By the way, no call of mine ever took more than 30 seconds to a minute. A couple of people would keep me on, but I would dedicate 2 to 3 days. And yes, I'd make a couple hundred phone calls because what better do you have to do but to stay in front of your pipeline? And I'm going to tell you, how many people will be surprised? Because what's good about both those holidays are, people have done this before. They've called somebody on Christmas to wish them Merry Christmas, and they could be Jewish, and they didn't know to wish them a Happy Hanukkah. That's a fair mistake, even though I've learned through all my years that people really don't get offended at that. However, what happens if you can pin in a holiday that is truly, both of them, American? You can forget about everything else, and you can pin those 2 times. I promise you people would appreciate phone calls. Hey, man, wishing you a happy 4th. Isn't it great that we get to make some decisions for the sacrifices of many? Hey, happy Thanksgiving. Hey, aren't we fortunate to share, as I like to say, family, football, fun, and food all together one day? Isn't that great? And that really is what the bonds that hold you. So that is the main context that I need to give you about what you are up against. And I gave a couple of tips, but that's where I've seen it get lost, Jonathan, and you were talking about it was, it's really good that you're doing scripts. I took that note down. It's really good what Corrina's talking about processing. This is literally what it's going to take. And it's really just about establishing value. It's always going to be about price. McDonald's would sell more hamburgers than anybody. Period. End of story. However, Chick-fil-A, by the way, charges 20% more, has half the locations, and has more revenue in America now.
Wow. That's an analogy right there. So I didn't even know that. That's a great analogy.
Half the stores, not open on Sunday, don't even have a hamburger. More revenue in America because they're not anywhere else. So you can only compare America to America. They're bigger now by revenue. So they have more output. So this is how you guys can do more output because if you have a CRM, and, you know, Jason Frazier is going to talk about great things. If you're on social media, these are all to avoid the collapses. You should have about 3 to 4 hours a day set on some form of prospecting. It doesn't have to be new. It's like, you know, Jonathan, when you're talking about, the great bartenders really do remember your name if you show up a lot. And you'd be surprised how many times you drive by there just to say hello. Even if you didn't want to get, you know, 5 or 6 drinks, maybe just one, like, hey, man, I just need to chill for a moment. Let me just go say hey to Shane, say hey to Carrington, say hey to Bethany, and have a drink, chill, and then go home or whatever. Or if you want to just eat at the counter one day, no drink, you would be shocked at how much naturally, because it's not that people want to just do business where I'm going to get to with people they like. They want to do business with people they respect. And if you do their purchase and never call them back, I'm sorry to tell you this, you lose it. You're never going to have a tear from me. I'm just sorry. I stayed in front of them. I know you can stay in front of them. I had plenty of people that worked here when I had retail that were very good at staying in front of them. And you have to understand the competition. And that's just consumer direct. There's also servicing companies out there who have their retention team. Now, they stay on them all the time because they don't want to lose that asset. And yes, I understand that the consumer, you can feel like it's yours and you own it. I think that's a little crazy to feel like you own somebody these days. However, I get your point. However, if somebody else is handling the servicing, you know, that's fair game. I think you just have to understand how the data works and all that. And ironically, I've known people that have gone up against those servicers that don't really lose loans. Why? All of them make phone calls. All of them shoot video text to people. You know, they interact on social media. They spend those boring 3 to 4 hours a day. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't become who he was without 3-a-days and his crazy 3 to 5 hours of always doing that, besides everything else he did. That's what it takes. You know, you got to do what it is. That's wisdom. It's not your fault. It's not my fault to say that. It's just, it is what it is. This is the game and the rules to the game. And if you know it, you can triumph. Now, here's the other thing that I would say that I hope more people do. If you print an LE of somebody else and put it online and talk about how other people are crooks, I hope you know you just made us all look like crooks. And nobody has said that, and I'm about to tell you that if you really think you did something because you lost a loan, you should be pissed off at yourself that you lost it. Because you didn't stay in touch. And look, unfortunately, I've got to tell you this. Even if you stayed in touch and you did that, some people may feel ashamed, and you have to have empathy. Put yourself in the shoes. Think about if they racked up the debt. They're like, oh, God, Jonathan was so great to me. Oh, shit, man. I'd rather talk to this Billy guy who I think, even though they're somewhere in America, obviously, is in Zimbabwe, and I never have to see him, and they don't know my face, and I don't live close to him, and I can just cash out. Of course, they don't understand that we have the data and we have access, and we would notice that later. But, that's a different story. But, people will live that. But putting that online is doing nothing but destroying the reputation of the industry and ourselves. And on top of that, regulators see that too. And then they start asking a lot of questions and coming down for no apparent reason. Just because somebody charged more doesn't mean they didn't have value. You have no idea what they provided for them. You can get high and mighty. However, if the end game is just price, then even some people on here, I'm going to tell you, if another broker undercuts you by 50 basis points, that same person can put you online and trash you. So I would say on that one, be very careful. We all live in a glass house, and I wouldn't throw stones because it's just not something that is going to gain anything. Now, if you're frustrated, I get it. Call a friend, take a walk, pound the phone, stay in front. Here's another one if you want to get more business. Everybody you ever lost a loan to, call them back and ask them why. I used to do that. They gave me all the ammunition to make my game better. Because now some people wouldn't call you back because they thought you were going to chastise them. I would say, no, I really want to know what I could have done better, maybe what my company could have done better. Where did we go off here? Where did you connect? I remember so many people saying, look, that other person was the first one and they came in right in line, and I was just going to honor them because they gave me the first, and it was pretty much the same, and I didn't have to beat it down. You have to allow people that level of freedom. I mean, for God's sakes, we're in America. You can't be mad. And like I tell people, part about being an American is that it's okay to ruin yourself if you want to. Like, if you want to eat 10 cheeseburgers a day and be overweight and feel like crap, that is about being an American, and that is what's fair. If somebody wants to go with somebody else, that's just what it is. At the end, is it good for the consumer? I've been a firm believer, of always looking out for the consumer and what's best for them. And what's best for them does not always necessarily just mean fees. I saw something that was put online earlier today by Hunter Bowling, where he said, just because you're lower, just because you're that, doesn't mean you don't have to go out and deserve it. You just got to fight for it like it's yours at all times. You don't own it. That's contrary to some people's belief. You don't. The consumer can go anywhere they want. I mean, I see it all the time, and you were talking about data points. There's data points that we see people that are shopping without even the trigger nowadays, from Credit Karma to so many of these websites. I'll see the alerts that show up here. We're like, hey, this person's selling their house, or hey, this person's shopping. And then, we pass the lead on, and then they're like, what are you talking about? What are you stalking No, it's just, there's data out there that kind of points the picture. But miraculously, do you understand when we send that message and then it triggers it to you? Did you think that was by accident? That the consumer all of a sudden, oh yeah, you led to an epiphany? No. What happens is they're like, oh yeah, that's who I did business with. Oh God, that's right. I could do it with them. So when market share is lost, is because people have a number in their mind. I hope this is probably what I really mean, that over the last 3 years, that people understand that this isn't a foregone conclusion. I do believe more refis will come in. What you have to also understand is 74% of people are below 4%, but they have a lot of equity. You can sell either a second or cash outs that are close. Cash outs probably you're getting, especially if they're around the 4, selling, 1.5 or higher probably makes more benefit than going into a second. But keep that open mind that maybe you've got to do a big enough second, because debt levels keep rising up. You see, unlike just 17 years ago, debt levels weren't even half of what they are today. So that's another built-in advantage that is going up. And even though the Fed has cut rates, which will reduce down credit cards, they're still at 20-something year highs. That's still
Eddie,
for cash flow.
I want to, so a couple things that I want to dive into with what you just said, because this is what I meant by the candor. Okay. Some of you might not want to hear it, but this is the truth of it. The environment he's talking about is the environment I grew up in. And obviously for me, I'm slowly more and more walking the community through that environment, just because it wasn't that easy the first 30 days upon my appointment. So learning and gaining the trust of the community has been a big deal. But that was what we did. I need you to understand, pounding the phones, 8 to 8, sometimes later, 12 hours a day, nonstop phone calls. That is what we were doing. I'm just going to call it like it is. So if you think that, we weren't good at selling when I was in that space, it is a naive thought to have, just to be completely transparent with you. This is practice. This is role plays. It's every day. So we have to step up. And you talked about people, with their time management. People tell me I'm super busy. First thing I say is, great, pull up your calendar. Let's take a look. And for the most part, that calendar has 1 or 2 things in it every day. You're talking about actually segmenting and breaking down, hey, day by day, hour by hour. Take time on Sunday, schedule it and plan it. But you said a couple things there. 2 things I want to dive into here. Number one, I want to talk about the margin and how brokers now have the ability to leverage and play with inside of that margin of that Dodd-Frank and the rules that we have. We've talked a lot about that. But number 2, you talked about America and the cheeseburgers, but your mental and physical health and the importance of that and how it correlates to business. I've been struggling with that personally with my new role and the new journey and the travel, but that's just an excuse. I'll just call it like it is. I'm an honest person with myself. I know how impactful it can be. So you can talk about margin and then talk about the importance of mental and physical health as part of this journey for us to be great.
Yeah. I mean, look, the one advantage that wholesale has with Dodd-Frank that passed in there is the whole borrower comp, borrower paid versus lender paid. how that is a huge advantage because, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you because it's articles that have been written about it. So I can, and other people have danced about it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that in the true traditional retail space that at times people don't play what's called the bucket game. And the bucket game, just to explain it to you is, they have their standard comp. That can't change by how the law was written. That cannot change. On the wholesale side, because borrower paid and lender paid, that can fluctuate. And you can adjust yourself and say, all right, this is a $600,000 loan. If I make one on the front, that's fine with me. I don't have to make my overall margin. They're not that lucky. It's not like I can say to you as an originator, like, oh, your comps say 150 on retail or 125 and it's 600. Oh, you've got to make your margin. They can't really cut it. Now, what a lot of them do is the bucket game where they say, hey, this is a referral and we'll pay you, say, 50 or whatever, work it out to give a price discount. And that's why be all, and I've talked about it with a lot of people in the industry, that the LO comp rule really did not solve what it was supposed to. It became too much of an absolute. But that is one advantage, Jonathan, is just being able to play with that lender paid versus borrower paid in a negotiation period that is very strong. The key to it is, like I say, is what makes retail click, and consumer directs in that channel too, is the process is well defined. You know who your players are and they go from it. And the originators know when to step away and they're not in love with their files. They know how to pass it on and move on. That's the big key. And look, I get it, dude. I was an originator. I get the, oh my God, my commission, my borrower, my relationship. That neuroticism isn't going to help you. Just have great people you can trust. Turn the file over, keep handing them in, and never forget any of these. Now, the other part that I'll say before I get into the mental stuff is the great thing with more refis coming in is a lot of originators are going to now breathe and be like, oh, they're going to do like this in their chair. And they're going to get lazy. So when that happens, all of a sudden you'll see, and you touched on it, Jonathan, about how wholesale picks up purchases. Absolutely. Because people quit paying attention to that. Think about if you quit, and just like a consumer, think about it for your significant other. If I'm talking about just calling them once a month, once every other month, find a way to get in run. Think about it with anybody you cared about. If you didn't pay attention to them at all, called them once or twice a month, how do you think that relationship would go? So have the empathy to put yourself in the consumer's shoes and admit if you haven't honored them. And that's okay. None of us are saints. We forget, stay in front of it. And then the mental space. You got to get sleep. And I understand, Jonathan, you're averaging 4. I know there'll be people say you don't need sleep. That's garbage.
I agree.
If Jeff Bezos says he needs to sleep or be in bed, as he says, 8 hours, because his 16 hours, he needs to be immensely on. You have to take care of yourself.
Yep.
And, there's different pillars to mental fitness, as I call it, that you have to follow. The biggest one of all, by far, which I call mental health, are the actions that you take. Because I believe mental health is an outcome. It's not a foregone conclusion. And that's water, supplements, diet, exercise, tracking yourself like the aura. Look, I'm not diabetic, but I have the whole, because I've learned that the glucose energy is how much that affects your sleep. Like I learned even recently, I take my carbs earlier in the days. I have my protein. By 2 o'clock, I've pretty much had most of my max protein and calories, because now my fast, because I'm 16 hours, starts at 9:30, ends at 5:30, and then I coast. I go to bed. I'm sleeping like an angel because most of my food is digested. All my energy's been burned off, and I wake up feeling amazing. And then right after I get done working out, I go eat within an hour or two. And you just have to understand that there's these little things, and I can get where they're overwhelming. That's why I'm just saying is don't try to accomplish everything that we talk about on here in one swoop. It's what I always heard from a runner. Somebody wants to become a runner. They want to lose weight. So then they run 5 miles the first day, and then they have shin splints and their legs hurt for a week, and then they don't run again when they should have just ran half a mile or a mile. And it's okay to work your way up. It's okay to keep doing that and going up there. But yeah, the mental space is extremely important about what you pour into yourself and the language you pour into it. Because, right now I'm pretty sure I'll read online how retail is going to gain shares. and it'll be more than likely consumer direct, because that's who you should really know. And consumer direct has a lot of players. There's not just a few. There's a lot of players. Even some pretty large, broker outfits that we do business with are consumer direct. They have the divine right to take your loan. Like, I'm sorry to tell you that, and I don't mean it in a negative way. It's just I'm very matter of fact and unapologetic about that, because that's just the game. That is just the game and the rules to it. You just have to understand it. If you understand it, I also think from a mental standpoint, you'll be like, all right, I lost this one, but I can go pick up another one.
Eddy, this is y'all, this is the real stuff we're talking about. I understand that sometimes it hurts, but we got to lean into the pain. Like, Eddy is all about leaning into the pain, the tough conversations, doing things that are outside of your comfort zone. You got to challenge yourself. If you don't have somebody in your corner all the time that's challenging you, what are you doing then? Who is helping hold you accountable? And if it's not anybody else, it has to be you. It has to be you. So, Eddy, 4 minutes left on your end here. Any final thoughts for us?
Final thoughts. That's a good one. Build your blueprint, follow it, stick to it 5, 6, 7 days a week, whatever you want to do. That's up to you. Stay in touch with your customers. There's so many different ways. If you want to grow your volume, I really do believe that you should entertain a processing company, third-party processing company. I think they will do phenomenal work for you, because, by the way, in the traditional retail space, those people that are getting those loans that are up against you, that's what they have at their disposal. And by the way, you got to understand, they're willing to accept less pay to have that staff. So you have to understand what it is that you've got to do and what they're willing to do. But you can stay out in front. The wholesale community, when I got in the business 22 years ago, 60, 70%. But back then, one of the big advantages was there was a lot of good wholesale lenders that gave originators a lot of options. Today, because of what happened in the crash, and now you're starting to see more, we need to see more wholesale lenders. We really do, because that's what's going to help bring more and more originators from especially, you're not going to get usually the consumer direct originators, by the way. Let me go ahead and cancel that one. Unless you're on the broker channel consumer direct, then yeah, you can get them, but that's potato. But if you want to get the traditional LOs out there, you're going to have a good process. It's going to have to be ironclad. It's also going to have a lot of flexibility, because that's what we had. Today, I laugh when people tell me, well, I only know your systems, 2 others. I had to know 15, 17, just to give you an example. And they weren't that hard. Now the great thing is, back then, your processors couldn't do that for you. Now they do it. That's all my parting shot is. Just figure out what your blueprint is. Figure out the number that you want to make in your head in the worst of times. Take the actions in the best of times, because that's the only thing that will keep you there, and then you'll soar back up.
Eddy, listen, our CWE, Chief Wrestler of Egos, Eddy Perez from EPM. Thank you for dropping knowledge, my friend. Thank you for the candor. Thank you for the directness. Start leaning into the pain, y'all. Eddy, thank you for everything.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. All right, y'all. Action-packed. Up next here, we have Jason Frazier, ready to provide value. We are ready to give you lots more additional insights into marketing and the branding and why it's costing you money. It truly is. Without further ado, Mr. Jason Frazier, please. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate you taking the time to pour into our community, my friend. I always know it's absolute heat with you. Thank you for allowing me to just grow the relationship with you and pouring into me too, and pouring back into AIME. So we're very, very grateful. The stage is yours, my friend. Tom, if you want to pull me off, it's all you.
Awesome. Thank you. And, Eddy, love listening to Eddy. I'm fired up now listening to Eddy, being a former EPMer myself and being learning. And Eddy is one of my great mentors in this industry. And so always happy to hear what he's got to say. And he always brings it. He's candor. And I try to do the same, right? Because I'll be honest with you. I'll read you the text of what Jonathan sent me, the importance of brand reconciliation. So we're not going to talk about brand reconciliation, but what he meant is the importance of brand recognition. And honestly, you've already seen that front and center from the beginning of this call to right now, right? Brand is a lot of different things. So honestly, to be honest with you, brand is really the last thing I want to talk about in the terms that we generally are talking about brand in our industry, because honestly, it's a lot of garbage. A lot of people put all these definitions out there of brand and what it is, what enough. I've used some of them myself, like, what people say about you in the room, but we're going to dive deep, right? Because Jonathan asked me to come on here to talk about the importance of brand recognition. And you guys, absolutely, if you don't understand true brand, right? If you don't understand true brand, and I'm going to try to get you into that right now and actually so I don't even want you using the word brand after this next 15 minutes. So I'm going to ask you to put things in the comments. I can't see them, but I want this to be engaged. I want to bring the energy. I want to bring the fire here for you guys, because I want you to learn something and the value. And here's the thing that I'll tell you, right? If we're being candid, there really is only one national mortgage brand, and we all know which one that is, right? I don't need to say the name. Right now, I was trying to go back and look in a Facebook group that I was a part of. It was a consumer neighborhood group, had probably about 2,700 people in it. And someone asked about, hey, we're thinking about getting a refinance. Like, who do you know? Like, who would you recommend? Right now, as I was going through the list of just comment after comment after comment, there was only one mortgage brand mentioned, which is everyone's favorite brand to throw rocks at, right? So again, not going to mention the name, but we all know who we're talking about. There was only one brand ever mentioned, right? And it was them. Now, the good thing is that it wasn't mentioned that much. And the people that mentioned the other people, they didn't mention mortgage companies. They mentioned names, right? They mentioned names. Everything that Jonathan mentioned in his intro, everything that Eddy talked about, all of that plays into an element of branding and what it actually does for your business, and it leads to growth, because really what we're talking about are two things that a brand should do, right? Well, three things. Two things lead to the third. The first thing is credibility. That's what it does, right? And what does that lead to? That leads to trust. Now, what does credibility and trust lead to? It leads to revenue, right? It leads to you doing deals, and that's what every single person wants. Right. And, as I was listening to Eddy and Jonathan talk, just think, man, wouldn't it be amazing if everyone just acted as if nothing was owed to us, right? We all like to say it. We all like to have the posters and all the other stuff around, but does it actually mean anything? Are we actually living our life? If you want to have a great brand, you know what you need to do? You need to show up, right? So I'm actually not going to show you guys a deck. I'm going to show you something that's in my accelerator, something that I take my brokers through, because I want you guys to go through. Now, I'm not going to take you through all of it, right? Because it's honestly, this should take you 45 days to go through if you're doing it right. But I want to show it to you because I want to hit the high notes, because I really, like I said, want you to get value out of that. So let me share my screen here. And there's the Chrome tab. Boom. All right, perfect. Actually, Tommy, can you? I don't think it's. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right, so we're going to go through this right now, right? So I don't call it brand. What I call it is I call it me Inc., right? Because ultimately, whether you want to believe it or not, and this is why I gravitate more to the broker side, because you guys are more entrepreneurial. You guys are more like hunt, right? You like hunt, eat what you kill, that type of stuff. Whereas, in the retail, and I come from retail, former co-owner of a retail IMB, right? That's most of my mortgage career has been on the retail side. Those that know my story knows that it's a family business going back to 1887, right? And so most of my time's been on the retail side. But ultimately, there's safety nets. There's things where people could fall back on, and they have this big support system and all these other things. And on the wholesale side, it's different, right? But to me, it's a different and it's better. Right? Because it actually brings out the people that truly do want to build something awesome for themselves. Now, as you should know, all of you are the CEO of your brand, and your brand is Me Inc. It's you. And here, I'm going to tell you a little secret, right? Brands are not built, right? When it comes to the context that we're talking about right now, you don't build your brand. It's you. You develop it, right? You've already built it. You are who you are. Now it's how do I develop it? How do I weaponize it, right? It's something that Eddy taught me when it comes to tactics, right? How do you weaponize a technology or a marketing tactic or something else to make sure that I'm getting the best use out of it, that I'm going to use it to win, to create more business for myself, right? And so, I know, a lot of the things that people talk about is hey, I'm not a great marketer and I don't do it. And I get it, but understand that you're marketing yourself every single day. right? Every single day. And what you're doing is with that brand and how you're showing up, you're establishing that credibility, you're building trust, you're creating a lasting relationship and building an audience, right? And that's what you need to understand is that's what the brand is. The brand is you, right? The brand is you. The brand is Me Inc. And it's your credibility and trust. You're going to use that and build it how you show up, right? So here, I'm just going to take you through the building blocks of the Me Inc. program just so you can see it, but I'm not going to go into every single one, but I'm actually just going to show you exactly what you're trying to do because Me Inc. is about becoming a known commodity. And what does that mean? That means recognition. Because here's the thing: you could be the best broker, you could do the clear the closes in 20 minutes, you could do all the other great things. But here's the thing: if you're not recognized, if you're not seen, if you're not known, then you're not relevant. And if you're not relevant, you're not going to generate revenue. Right? It's a very simple, very simple formula. You have to be relevant. And this is why, as a whole in the industry, because Jonathan already touched on it, Eddy did as well. When it comes to retention of our loans, like we don't retain loans, especially on the wholesale side, as much as some of the counterparts, right? And I know this having worked on the servicing side, on the wholesale side, to understand that, guess what? A majority, by a large amount, by over 65%, maybe, give it, take a percentage, were using someone else, right? Doesn't mean they were using retail, but they were using someone other than the original loan officer. That's an issue. Right? That's a Me Inc. issue. So you've got to understand that you always got to be using your brand to get in front of people. And it all starts with what? It starts with being authentic, right? So I'm just going to take you through through bullet points, right? The definition of brand, and I do this for each one. And again, I'm not going to go through it all, but understand that it's the impression when your name is seen in red, right? What's the impression? What's the impact? What's the emotion? What others say when you're not in the room, what your clients say about you when you refer to others, your reputation, the some experience of the customers that they have with you, right? It's that authenticity. Why is that important? And I put it right here. Trust helps you stand out. It sets expectations. It makes you relatable, attracts your perfect customers, and it turns your audience into advocates. Think about that, right? You don't want clients, you want advocates. You want fans. And with your brand, you are going to develop something great if you do it the right way. But you got to understand what it is, and you got to understand how real it is with what you're doing, how you're showing up, right? And this goes into all of this stuff. It goes into how you're developing your logos, how you're developing your colors, all of these things. It's branding, they're elements, they play into it. But ultimately, guys, there's a lot of brands out there that have nothing to do, like their logos or anything, have nothing to do with the actual business that they're in when you look at it. Remember, the logo will never make the brand or you will make the logo matter, right? That's why, and people that know me always make the jokes about your logo doesn't need to have house or keys or anything real estate related in it, right? You are going to do that for you, right? You are going to do that. And again, look at the biggest brand, national brand in the business, nothing to do with houses, real estate, or anything else, right? It's just a name. But through the recognition, right, through the advocacy, through the credibility and trust that has been done, that makes the brand trust. And here's an exercise, right? I want you to close your eyes, right? I want you to close your eyes. And if I say loan officer, what's the first thing that, and you guys don't have to put it in the chat, right? But like, what is the first thing you think about? Hopefully it's you, right? But you might be seriously, if I'm putting like shock collars on everyone, if you lie, like you get shocked. But like, I really want you to be honest with yourself. If I said shoes, what's the first thing that pops into your head? If I said fast food or burgers, or if I said steak, or if I said a number of different things, that we would go through, if I said soda, right, or pop, depending on where you're from in the country, right? If I said one of those things, what's the first thing that comes in your mind? What's the image that comes into your mind? It's that brand. It made an impact in some form, whether it's positive or negative, doesn't matter if it stays resident in your head, right? That's recognition. When you see something, you know exactly what it is because there's recognition. There's an element of that. And that's why you got to put everything that you are, if you look, and we'll just go by bullet points here, right? Content. Obviously that matters, right? Your brand goes into your content, but it doesn't necessarily mean your logo or anything else. You just want to know of how you show up when someone sees something. And I know it when I see or hear something or whatever, even if it's not from that one person, I will get an element of what I first think of, right? Wouldn't it be great? And I know this here's a scenario that I think every single one of you could appreciate. especially if you used to work in retail and then it's been maybe, I don't know, 12 months or something. And in fact, I'm sure a lot of you that used to work in retail or for other companies are experiencing it now. And I know you are, because I know some of my members are. I know that I've seen the Facebook posts, right? But what happens when rates get a little bit on the good side, right? From an old company, what do? You get text, you get forwarded emails from your client saying, hey, I got this email from your former mortgage company. I got this, text messages and stuff like that. I think someone shared like a text messaging exchange in that, right? So those lenders, I could tell you from a retail side, we did that absolutely. After I think we waited like 12 a month. You know what would happen? We would get calls from our ex-loan officer. Some of them were pissed and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of them, you know what they said? They said, thank you. They said, thank you, because what had happened is that loan officer built the credibility and trust. We didn't do it as the lender. The loan officer did. So what happened is they didn't call us. They didn't respond to our email. They didn't respond to our mailers. You know what they did? They went with the person they had the trust with, the person that had credibility, the person that had what? Recognition and relevance in their head. So they contacted the loan officer. And guess what? We gave loan officers a lot of deals through that tactic. So I know people get like upset about it. And look, I will say that some of the messaging, it can be a little bit on the shady side, right? So I'm not a fan of that. We never did stuff like that. But the point is that that's what drove the engagement, right? And so all of you need to be doing it. So understand is that your brand is, and this is one of the things that I say all the time. And I know, I only have like 15 minutes, so I'll wrap it up here in the next, few minutes here. But this is what I say all the time is that you guys got to understand, right? You guys got to understand how important you are to the consumer, right? You got to understand what you're doing for them. You got to understand and believe that you matter. You got to understand and believe that you're important with making an impact that could change a generation of family, right? With what you help them do, especially if they told no, especially if they were denied someone else, especially if another lender may be messed up, right? You got to understand all of that, because it's when I say it's not just important, right? It's critical, right? It's absolutely critical. And you got to understand that you are the person that needs to be there for them, and understand that they are not your past clients, right? They're not your former clients, your former customers or anything else. They are your clients. If you want client for life, if you want client lifetime value, then you need to treat them as lifetime clients, right? You got it. Other industries don't do that. They don't they're old clients or whatever, but we do that a lot. We spend so much on the front of the house. We spend so much on every part of the process, but we spend the least amount on the retention side to make sure that those consumers know and those customers know that they are your clients, that you are there for them, that you care about their financial well-being, you care about the health of their family, you care about all the different things. That's part of your brand. My friends, look, I know it's like, some people, and I'm as cynical as everyone else, that think about it's a little rah or, Simon Sinek type stuff. But guys, at the end of the day, I don't care about any of that. I just care the fact that I'm relevant, right? I care that I'm thought of, because that's the only way that I'm going to grow business. That's the only way that you're going to grow business. And I'm sorry to tell you, but just doing your job isn't enough. How are you going to make an impact, right? How are you going to be different? And this is the important stuff. And guys, just real quick, right? Like, know your perfect customer, understand who your audience is, help people have that mindset of abundance, influence. You have influence by connecting other people, right? You don't need you don't need to be an influencer. You just need to be an operator and be a connector, and you will get the influence. Success by association. What are we talking about here? We're in a great association, mortgage association group. We got AIME, right? So you have success by who you associate with. Building a unique UVP, right? Your network, that is your social capital. Obviously mastering your media using all, and this is other just like marketing stuff, but this is the last thing that I want to share with you, right? And this is a term that I want you guys to write down. Supporters, not followers. You don't want followers. You want supporters. You want advocates, right? You got to understand that these people, right, your supporters, they are going to be your best marketers for your brand, is because they're always going to refer you. They're always going to talk about you. They're always going to do everything they can to help you if you showed up for them, if you went above and beyond them. Again, it's table stakes. Did you close a loan? Fantastic. That's your job, right? Me, a marketer. Did I generate a lead? Fantastic. That's my job. what did I do above that? Right? What did I do above that? How did I make an impact? How did I make you hopefully transform your life? Right? What did I do there? And guys, we're one of the few industries that when we do all of that comes together, right? We change lives, we impact lives. Like I said, and that's not something we're a pillar, right? That's not something to like, just to gloss over, right? We are a pillar of the American economy, right? You matter. Think about that. Be confident and don't be afraid to talk about yourself, because remember, it all stops and starts with you, because it's me, Inc., and you are the brand. So I think I hit it right on the mark. 15 minutes, John, maybe.
Hey, you crushed it, brother. Thank you so much. The importance of your brand. Jason Frazier, nonstop value. Thank you for doing this, man. Thank you for giving us tangible. Thank you for coming so prepared, so dialed in to talk about all the branding, what you need to do so we can work on the retention piece, the importance of the brand. I love the logo thing you said too. We did that too early on, right? We're like, how do we incorporate a house? It has nothing to do with that. It's all big picture. Jason, thank you, sir. Appreciate you very much, y'all. We're going to get you wrapped up over here very quickly. Tommy, you want to pull Mark up very quick? Listen, y'all, we appreciate you more than you know. This has been incredible. We're going to continue to do these every single quarter, give you updates, bring in additional guests, more people to pour into you. We're a little bit over. We don't want to go past 75 minutes, but if you have anything specific you want to go over, Mark, where can they reach out? What's the email they can go to?
They can just go to info@aimegroup.com. Once again, I probably said that 92 times on this, but if you guys have any questions, just email info@aimegroup.com. More than happy to help. Yeah, we did go a little bit over, but it was such good information. You know what I mean?
It wasn't.
And we're going to continue to post the stuff.
And for those that don't know, we do have a podcast. We do have a podcast. Please join. It's one of the biggest growing podcasts on the market. We've been super consistent. Mark Summers, I told you I was going to do it. Thank you for being you, man. Thank you for all the stuff. He takes care of these escalations for us. This guy is on them like you wouldn't believe. Just thank you for having my back and our community's back, man. God bless y'all. Have an incredible day. Take care.